Well, keeping with that theme, the Financial and Fiscal Commission says that the country must avoid increasing debt through spending that is not linked to economic growth. And the Finance Minister set to table that 2026 national budget later today at 2 p.m. to be exact. And it's expected to be the most market-friendly budget in years. But will it be? We'll have to wait and see. Let's cross now to SABC News anchor Leanne for more on what we can expect later today. Leanne?
Thanks very much, Sakina. Yes, indeed, market-friendly. We wait and we see later this afternoon when he delivers that 2026 national budget. We just want to put you into a little bit of a picture here in terms of what we're showing you here. Remember, 4 years ago, flames tore through this historic building. South Africa watched as its legislative heart was damaged. The chamber roofs collapsed, offices were destroyed, and basically history blackened by smoke. But it really felt like a very symbolic moment for South Africa. It was a country that was already strained by corruption, by state capture, by economic stagnation, and it saw one of its most important democratic institutions literally go up in flames. But since then, what we can tell you is that what you're seeing is the reconstruction taking place. The restoration work is continuing, and you can see what the vision is, and that is the vision of what is hoping will be completed by November this year. Obviously, there are a lot of critics that are saying there is no way that that is going to be ready by November this year. However, that's what expectations are, and we'll try and see if, in fact, this actually does happen. But the reality is that, I don't know, for some reason, it's a bit of a symbolism, and perhaps we can look at that for today, because this budget is also about rebuilding. It's about rebuilding fiscal credibility after years of deficits. It's rebuilding public trust after institutional damage. It's also rebuilding infrastructure, whether we talk about rails, whether we talk about electricity or water. And water probably is one of the biggest issues that we're hoping is being addressed here today, and rebuilding an economy that has been very, very fragile for far too long. On paper, we keep saying the numbers are improving, but the lived reality is not that glorious. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but I also want to let you know what we saw a bit earlier was, of course, the Deputy President's motorcade arriving, and that means that I imagine the Finance Minister is already here, and you'll see a lot of the other political parties that have arrived. So we definitely did see the Deputy President arriving here this morning, getting ready to go into that lockup before we hear the budget, which will be delivered at 2 o'clock today. So let's continue to talk a little bit more about what it is that we can expect from this. And it's a pleasure to be joined here with us on the streets of Cape Town. Nice to see you, and thank you so very, very much for joining us here. A senior economist at Deloitte and partner Zora, thank you very, very much for your time, for being with us on the program.
Morning, Leanne. Just a correction, I'm with KPMG.
Oh my goodness, I have got that. I am so sorry. Why do I have that written here? Never mind. It is correct. Thank you for correcting me. So let's begin and talk a little bit about, after last year's VAT turbulence, because it really was turbulent. All eyes are on tax policy again. Is Treasury likely to avoid headline tax hikes, or are we looking at increases again?
I think taxpayers this afternoon will be watching for tax relief. Some good news for the pockets. We do not expect the minister to raise any taxes this afternoon, especially of what happened last year. There's just no appetite for any tax rate increases, especially VAT, because it's a consumption tax and it impacts every single person. In terms of corporate income tax, we must remain a competitor for foreign investment, so it is unlikely that that will go beyond 27%. And in the past, Treasury has indicated that they have no intention to actually increase the personal income tax rates. We have seen better than expected revenue collections. Figures released by Treasury reflects that the estimates for both corporate income tax and VAT have been revised upwards, and personal income tax will come in slightly below the estimates of last year. So on that backdrop, taxpayers are asking, what relief will we get?
Yeah.
So for the past 2 years, we've actually seen no adjustment to the tax brackets for inflation. Although that brings in taxes for the state, it does impact the pockets of the consumers.
Yeah.
So where will the tax come from to actually fund our ever-increasing expenditure? The key to that is SARS with their modernization project, where they are looking at an administration platform that will be driven by AI and real-time information, where taxpayers will no longer be required to report to SARS, but SARS has already the information and they will just be confirming it. Wow. And one of the aspects that SARS is actually focusing on is to look at individuals that earn income outside of the payroll system. For example, freelancers, for example, influencers, landlords that are actually renting out to tenants and small business owners. And they are actually using technology to actually track these individuals. So it's not somebody sitting at a desk and trying to find these people. It's really just AI and technology, and they will find you at some point.
That's scary. You are scaring me because I know we're being watched. But my goodness, this has taken it to another level, which is perhaps bad for the person who's been hiding it all along, but it is good in terms of this revenue collection that you speak of, because this is the money that we use to build this country, to change the face of it, infrastructure, everything is used from the collections that we use. But let's go a little bit deeper into this, because obviously VAT increases, that's something I don't think we're going to be seeing. But could VAT still be adjusted indirectly through perhaps compliance tightening and refund scrutiny?
Yeah, in the 2025 budget, 4 billion rand was awarded to SARS, and they've actually had success in terms of collecting overdue debts. So at the end of December last year, SARS collected an amount of 71 billion from overdue debts, and almost half of that was from VAT. So there have been successes. 4 billion rand was given, and they collected already in the 2026 year a whopping 71 billion rand. So I do think taxpayers will have to endure tighter scrutiny, enforcement, and more audits.
Yeah. SARS, back to them, delivered an 18 billion rand surplus, nearly half from compliance efforts. Is the tax base expanding, or is enforcement simply tightening? Because that's a big conversation about this the tax bracket and how many people are responsible for this. And again, while you're speaking to this as we wrap up, Commissioner Kisvet's time is coming to an end now. How important is it for SARS to continue with this trajectory? Because it's big shoes to fill.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of discussions going on that front, but you're 100% right. I think it's a combination, but enforcement definitely and compliance have increased. We are seeing more audits, and that is also where penalties and interest are also buffeting the tax revenues. In terms of just the enforcement by SARS, I think we will all see that going forward.
Yeah, all right. Kisvet, your views on this? It's big shoes to fill.
Absolutely. They were looking for somebody internal, but we don't know what's going to happen. But you're absolutely right. We must continue on the trajectory.
Yeah, it's a pleasure speaking to you, Zara. Thank you so much for being with us here on the program on Morning Live, just talking all things to do with tax. And I must say, it's an interesting conversation to have, and we wait to see exactly what is holding in store for us a little bit later on at 2 o'clock this afternoon. So I think I'm wrapping it up from here, and I'm going to hand it back to the Johannesburg studio. And remember that the SABC's live coverage of Budget 2026 continues here, and we look forward to staying with you throughout the day.